This is S4 homework help consisting of both National 5 and National 4 work, due on Tuesday the 29th of September 2015. Question 1 asks you to fully factorise this quadratic equation. This is slightly different to the ones we've been doing because we've now got a coefficient of x squared that is not 1. You have, however, done these before. You did them last year, so please check your jotter for a bit more help with them. Now there are two methods, both of which I'm going to go over in full, so you will be given the answer at the end. I would still like you to write them out, make sure you understand them, and possibly look at other examples from last year if you're still stuck. The first method, we want to look at the coefficient of x squared, which is 2, multiply it by our number at the end, which is 12. So 2 times 12 will give us 24. And what we want to do with the 24 is write down all the factors. So we have 1 and 24, we have 2 and 12, we have 3 and 8, we have 4 and 6. Okay? Now we want two numbers that when we add together are going to give us 11 from here. So 3 and 8 equal 11, so that's what we're looking at. Now, the next step, we want to rewrite this equation. So the 2x squared is going to stay the same, but instead of 11x, we want to put in our 3 and our 8. Now it's minus 11x, so it's going to be minus 3 minus 8, because that will give us 11, minus 11. And we also want to think about which number we're putting first. Now 8 and 2 divide both divide nicely by 2, so I'm going to put that one first. So minus 8x, then minus 3x plus 12, which works because 12 and 3x can both be divided by 3. We're now looking at this in two sections. We're going to look at this part first, 2x squared minus 8x. So take out the common factor, so 2x goes into both of them, multiply by x will give us 2x squared, and then subtract 4. It's 2x times negative 4 will give us minus 8x. And then we want to do minus, common factor here is 3, so minus 3 times x to give us minus 3x. And then you'll notice this is a positive 12. So minus 3 times something gives us positive 12, so it's going to be a minus 4. Okay, so then this bit here is from that half of our equation. Once we've done that, we should have the same in our brackets, which we do. We've got x minus 4 in each set of brackets. We now want to take the 2x minus 3 and put that into brackets, times by our x minus 4. And you can always check your answer by expanding the brackets. Okay, the second method to fully factorise this. We're looking at the 2, first of all, the coefficient of x squared, and we need to know the factors of 2. So in this case, the only factors are 2 and 1. We then need to look at the 12 and think about our factors for that. So we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and then we want to switch them around. So we've got 4 and 3, 6 and 2, 12 and 1. Next step, we want to cross multiply. So we want to do 2 times 12 and 1 times 1 and add them together. So we have 2 times 12 is 24, add 1 times 1 is 1, so that's going to give us 25. That's no good. We are looking for 11, okay, from this bit here. So then try 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 times 2 is 2. So that's no good either, that's still not going to give us 11. then try the next one. So we have 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 4 is 8. 3 add 8 is 11. Okay, so we're looking at the 3 and the 4. We know that's what we want, that's what we're looking for. So we can now put in our brackets. So the numbers up here, your 2 and your 1, these are going to be your coefficients of x. So in the first bracket, we're going to have 2x. Okay. And then in the second bracket, it's just 1x. Okay. We've got 2 here, and it was the 3, so the 3 is underneath the 2, so let's try that first of all. So we'll put the 3 in here, and then the 4 is underneath the 1. And then you'll notice that we need a negative 11x, so we want to think, so 2x times x is going to give us 2x squared, that's fine. 3 times 4, okay, is going to give us 12, so that's okay, that works for this bit. However, we're then going to get 2x times 4, which will give us 8x, and 3 times x, which will give us 3x. We want negative 11x. So in order for that to be negative 11x, you need to think about your signs. These are going to have to be minus. And you can always check that again. 2x times x, so we'll just expand the bracket, so 2x squared. Negative 3 times x is minus 3x. 2x times negative 4, negative 8x. And negative 3 times negative 4 is plus 12. And then if you simplify that, you can hope that it's the same as your initial equation, which it is. Okay, so that is your answer, which should be the same whether you use this method or method 1. Okay. Moving on to question 2, solving simultaneous equations. So the first thing we want is for our either x coefficients or y coefficients to be the same number. Okay, we want the same number but opposite signs. So for this, I'm going to look at the y coefficients simply because the signs are already different, so it makes it a wee bit easier. Now 2 and 3, they don't have any of the same factors, so I'm just going to multiply this top one by 3 and the bottom one we're going to multiply by 2. Okay, so let's rewrite our new equations. So we have 6x plus 6y, sorry, not 6x, we're multiplying by 3, so it's 9x plus 6y equals negative 3. Make sure you multiply everything by 3. And then the second equation, we're going to have 4 times 2 is 8x minus 6y equals negative 48. Okay, now we have our new equations. We can just do equation 1, subtract equation 2. Okay, you'll notice the 6y minus 6y cancels out, so then you get 9 add 8x equal to negative 3 minus 48, and then you should be able to solve them for x. Once you've got your value of x, you then can put that value into one of your equations and solve for y. Question 3 asks you to expand the brackets. So all we want to do, everything in this bracket must be multiplied by everything in this bracket. Don't mind what way you do it. If you want to draw lines to each thing so you know you've gone through all of them, you've not missed any, that's absolutely fine. So you can start off, x times x squared is x cubed. You might want to do all your x's first, so x times 3x is going to be 3x squared. Then x times -1 will be negative x. Then look at your 2 and multiply everything in the other bracket by 2. So you'll have plus 2x squared plus, and so on. Once you've done that, you can collect like terms and that will give you your answer. Okay, question 4. Write in the form x plus p all squared plus q. So we are just completing the square. So remember, we're going to have it in this form. To begin with, the first part is in this form. So it's going to be x, because x times x gives you x squared. And then all we're doing is half of this coefficient. So we're just adding 2. Now we're adding 2 squared, so we need to take away 2 squared. And then add your 1 at the end. Okay, and then you just rewrite that, and you should have x plus 2 all squared, then minus 4 plus 1. So you should have something here. Question 5 is about sketching a quadratic function. Our first step, A, we're asked to verify the graph meets the axis at 2 points. Before we do that, we need to put down our values of A, B and C. So A equals 1, B equals 4, and C equals negative 12. We can then put these values into B squared minus 4AC, and in order to confirm the graph meets the x-axis at 2 distinct points, your answer should be more than 0. Part B, you want the roots, so where the graph cuts the x-axis, at this point y will equal 0, which means x squared plus 4x minus 12 will equal 0. You can then factorise that, and you'll get 2 values of x, and therefore 2 sets of coordinates. You're then asked to go on to do your y-intercept. At this point where the graph cuts the y-axis, x equals 0. So you can then just put x equals 0 into the equation from the beginning to give you your value for y, and you'll get another set of coordinates. Then your turning point, x equals negative b over 2a. You want to put your values of a and b from here into that equation. Be careful with your negative signs. Make sure you've got your answer correct, and it's not a negative when it should be a positive, or vice versa. Once you've got your x value, you can then put it into your initial equation to get your value for y. So you now you'll have 2 sets of coordinates from here, from your roots. You'll have a set of coordinates from your y-intercept, and you'll have your coordinates of your turning point, which means you can do part D nice and easily. You will know that it's going to be a positive parabola because A is more than 0. You can then put your coordinates for your turning point in, where it cuts the x-axis and wherever it touches the y-axis. Okay, moving on to the National 4 side. 1A should be nice and straightforward. Just to confirm, B, so we want to get rid of the 7 first of all. If there's a plus something or a negative something and it doesn't have a B, C, X, Y next to it or any other letter, we want to get rid of that first. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of this plus 7. So we end up with 5C, take 7 away from either side. Can work that out. And then the next step, we now want to get rid of this 5. Okay, now this is telling us it's 5 multiplied by C. So if we're multiplying, in order to get rid of the 5, we want to divide both sides by C. So whatever we got, 42 minus 7, whatever our answer was, we divide by 5, and that will give us our C value. Question 2, we want to make P the subject of the formula. So we want to rearrange it until P is on its own. So very similar to the last one, we want to get rid of the plus 6 first of all. So we do that by taking away 6 from either side. Then you're going to be left with a 2p, so we want to get rid of the 2. So multiplying by p, so we want to divide both sides by 2. And question 3 finally. First part, A asks you to copy and complete the table of values. So we take this equation here. If x equals -1, then y will equal 3 subtract 2 times -1, which equals 3 plus 2, which equals 5. So y will equal 5. Next one, y equals 3 minus 2 times +1, which equals, you can work that out and write your answer in there. And then do the same for 3. And part B just asks you to draw the graph. So all you want to do is draw your axes, okay, and plot all 3 coordinates that you've got from here. So the first one, -1, 5. So you're going to have, say, -1's there. I'll put 5 up there. So plot your first one. Plot your second one, plot your third one, and join it up.